Team, I got another question, and it's a great one, and that is, should you do speed work year-round? I think if you're a middle distance runner or even a long distance runner, you should always be working on your speed, okay? Regardless if you're doing training for a 5K on the track, an 800 meter, or you're training for these longer races in the half marathon and marathon, believe it or not, you still need speed in those particular events. You still need to be able to react to different types of pace changes in the races that you're dealing with from your competition. And one of my favorite types of workouts for speed that I always utilized over the years, and I still have my athletes and all throughout my training plans, is fartlek workouts. I'm a big believer in those. I like doing like 10 to 15 times 2-minute reps on the roads with 1-minute recovery, or 2-minute reps with 2 minutes of easy jog recovery, depending on where you're at in your fitness. Because again, you're getting accustomed to running at faster paces when you're fatigued. Okay, it's a art form to run fast, and so you always have to. Just about everybody can run slow for long periods of time, but to run a specific pace, or to exceed your goal race pace over your particular race distance, requires that you train at very high intensities, but throughout the year. But you don't ever want to just jump into any training block immediately starting with speed, okay? My recommendation is you start, if you're doing training for a 5K, or you're training for a 10K or a marathon, spend 3 to 4 weeks running easy aerobic mileage. But what you can do during that aerobic base building phase, where you're just building the foundation, you're strengthening your tendons, you're strengthening your muscles, to go into a specific race pace training aspect of your particular training plan, you can still do strides. Strides are very important because, one, you're working on your form. They're not long enough to build up any significant lactic acid. Okay, so that might mean, I always tell my athletes, and even my training plans and running courses, I have strides sprinkled throughout those training plans, even in the aerobic base building phase as well. But usually they're between 4 to 6 50-meter strides. They can go out to 100 meters in length. But you don't want to go just do an all-out sprint immediately. And that's when you're doing strides, it should be a gradual increase in pace. Most of you already have done strides, or you do strides routinely, but you can do strides even in an aerobic base building phase, so you can remind yourself of what you're preparing your legs and your body to do once you start getting into the specific race pace type training, and then you go into your speed phase training, where you're working more toward VO2 max efforts and really getting that goal race pace that you're aiming for to feel that much easier for you in the race. Pace sustainment is what it really comes down to when it comes to racing on the track or racing on the roads. You want to be able to sustain your goal race pace longer than your competition, slow down less, and to be able to handle those higher amounts of lactic acid buildup that will challenge even the best of us in races. Always make training the most difficult part of your preparation. The race itself is never the day where you want to be so overly stressed out that you get tense mentally, you get tense physically, and your performance suffers. And so doing speed work throughout the year, even in the form of strides, or doing moderate level intensity repeat 100-meter hill repetitions or 150-meter hill repetitions, doing those types of workouts where you're recruiting more fast twitch muscle fibers that you're not going to recruit by running easy and slow, that will help you to not only handle higher amounts of lactic acid, but it's going to prove your body's lactate tolerance to a point where the race pace that you're aiming for is not so much of a challenge as it would be if you weren't putting in speed work throughout the year. But you really have to be strategic too, because in say like a 16-week to 24-week block of training, it's easy to want to start doing speed work too soon and to get too anaerobically fit too early in your buildup. And I think that's a challenge too, because if you don't time it right, if you get extremely fit and you still got another, say, 6 to 7 weeks of training, it's hard to my recommendation, if you get to that point, if you get really insanely fit and you still got another, say, 5 to 6 weeks of training to go, I would find that race that you're aiming for. Maybe the goal race that you're aiming for is maybe 6 weeks away. I would find a race that's maybe 2 weeks away, because again, you've already shown that you're in great shape. And an example of that is back when in 2011, I was training for the 2011 Monumental Indianapolis Marathon. I did a 20-miler in training in 1 hour and 50 minutes and 2 seconds. That comes out to 5:30 mile pace. But I still had the race itself was still 6 weeks away. And so what I wish I would have done, and why I'm sharing this with you, is because maybe this is something that you can do. If you go out and you just blast a phenomenal workout, you know, a great track workout or a great tempo run or a great long run in this case, my recommendation is try to find a race suitable, preferably flat, but a little bit closer rather than further out. Okay, what I wish I would have done after I'd done that 20-miler is to have found a marathon that was maybe 2 to 3 weeks out versus training for the Indy race. I ended up finishing 5th. I ran 2:26 that day, but really, I think that had I done that and found a race 2 or 3 weeks out, I think I would have potentially would have improved upon my PR for the marathon. So consider doing that as well. But I also want you to remember that speed training, because it's you want to really pay attention to your recovery, making sure you're jogging on easy days, preferably giving yourself 48 hours of easy jogging between each hard speed workout that you do, so that again, one, you not only you don't get too anaerobically fit too soon, but you also do provide yourself ample time to adapt to what you're throwing at yourself in training. A lot of times, runners will overtrain, and it is natural to overtrain because we get so hyped up and focused on speed and specific race pace training and VO2 max type workouts that we overdo it. There's a lot of times that runners are running way too fast on their easy days and way too slow on their fast days, on their tempo workouts, things like that. So make sure that you're adjusting you're adapting. You're running slow enough in your recovery runs to continue to push yourself and continue to do these speed workouts year round. Yes, you can do them year round, but you also got to make sure you're just as disciplined on those easier recovery days so that you can continue to do speed workouts throughout the year. But you don't want to do them when and this is it's a crucial topic for athletes, again, to time your workouts and to time your how you set up your training throughout the year. You want to give yourself, if you're doing if you're training for a full 12 weeks, I would give yourself 1 month of that 12 week, or 1 month of those 12 months. If you're training for 12 months, give yourself a month off. Okay, maybe 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there, maybe a few days off throughout that buildup, but don't train for a full year without no breaks. Okay, especially trying to train throughout the year and doing speed workouts throughout the year with no breaks. Okay, you can potentially do that throughout the year if you're just running easy aerobic mileage and you're just staying fit throughout the year. But if you're doing speed and you're not giving any type of attention to time off in recovery and running slow enough on your recovery days, it's going to be very hard to do speed workouts year round. Okay, so I hope this video is helpful for all of you that are thinking over this topic of how do I do speed workouts year round, and can I do that? One, as I mentioned before, even during an aerobic base building phase, you can still do speed in the form of strides, because again, they're so short. You're not going to build up any significant lactic acid, so you're not really, and you can still do strides 2 to 3 times a week. Like I mentioned before, 4 to 6 50-meter to 100-meter strides for those first 4 to 8 weeks of your buildup, and then you can start doing some moderate level, not so VO2 max level, but eventually just gradually introduce some speed workouts into your routine, whether that's in the form of doing hill repetitions or doing some like 10 to 12 300-meter reps or 8 to 12 400-meter reps. and then gradually, as you get fitter anaerobically, then you can lengthen the duration of your speed workouts. Might be like 10 1 kilometer reps, 10 times 2.5 laps around the track, 1,200 meter reps, repeat 1,600s on the roads or on the track. Okay, so I hope this was helpful. If you have any other questions, leave me a comment below. I'll definitely reach back out and respond to you. Check out the resources below, all of my videos in the description or on RunDreamAchieve.com, and I'll talk to you guys and gals all in the next video.